Welcome, everybody, to the Wonder Boldly podcast. I'm Christine Santos, bringing to you all of the action steps and knowledge I've learned on my journey to becoming an online business owner, quit my corporate job, and now live the life that I desire on my own terms. This podcast is jam-packed with all the knowledge I've gained over the past few years growing my online business. I am so passionate about you going after what it is that you want. I want to encourage and motivate you to know that you too can live the life that you desire. Thank you so much for listening. Let's go. Hello, and welcome everybody to the Wonder Boldly podcast. Today, I'm so excited to have with me Lisette Meuse-Manuel, and we just face-to-face met right now, right here. She was a guest on my client, Wendy Harrop's podcast, talking about menopause and her book, Prepare to Pause. And I know that you, my audience, are going to love this episode. This is information that speaks right to us. We're living and breathing this every day. And I said to myself, I have to have this woman on the podcast. So I reached out to her and she graciously accepted. So we are here today. I am going to ask her some of the questions that I know you have, and we're going to dive into it. And at the end, she will give us an action step. Obviously, get her book. She'll tell us, I'll put it in the show notes everywhere that you can find that and get the book. And also what you can do today as you go out into the world today and maybe take a little bit better care of yourself. She talks a lot about self-care, and I'm sure we'll talk about that here. So with that being said, thank you so much, Lisette, for being with us today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited. So there's so many places we can start, right? Yeah. So much to talk about. But let's just start. If you can share with the audience your sort of trajectory into this. We kind of talked about it a little bit before we hit record, but how did you come to a point where you're like, you know what? I see the need for this. And we talk about that a lot in the entrepreneurship world, like find the need. What is the need out there? And how did that sort of start for you and you develop this book and get it out into the world?
Well, I've been working with mostly middle-aged women for about 38 years. So I'm a clinical esthetician and I deal with ladies all day, every day. So I hear a lot of talks and conversations and the same questions kind of keep coming, right? Because when you hit perimenopause, your body starts changing, but as also the skin, the hair, the nails. So as an esthetician, those are the questions that I get. Oh my God, my skin is so dry. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to use. So I've been, answering these questions and trying my best to help because I started my career, I think I was 18. So I'm now 54. And having gone through menopause myself, which was a very, very rough life-altering experience for me because I can't take any hormones. So I had to white knuckle it. And the worst of it hit me as the pandemic hit. So I was home and I couldn't really get doctor's appointments and like all the stress. So it just exploded and it affected me so much on pretty much every level of my life and my work and all of that. So I thought, I'm not the only one. And then as we start talking with people and, the stress and mental health issues the last 3 years have really increased. So I always kind of update my service menu and, tweak my business. Every year I plan out my goals. I like writing things down. And so I just kind of review and I'm like, I'll take this out. I'll add this. So I was doing more like weight management coaching for the last few years. And I don't want to do that anymore because, people just want like a quick fix diet. And I'm like, I really want to help women nourish their bodies to give them more energy, to give them better hormone production. So I kind of switched things around and added like a menopause consultation where we discuss nutrition, lifestyle, and skincare. So all the things, because what you eat builds your skin. So that's the base of where we start. And then, you have to sleep, you have to drink your water. So all these things. So then I thought, okay, well, the consult's about 45 minutes. And the conversation always goes, how women can chit chat, and then time's up, and like we forgot to cover certain things. So I thought sometimes I would just kind of recap everything and send an email, but that's a lot of work to do that for each client. So I thought I'm going to create like a little kind of bullet point pamphlet. So at least they can kind of read when they get home or the next day and kind of, oh yeah, she said this. Yeah, I should be doing that. So this is how that started. So first thing, this pamphlet was 4 chapters long. So I'm like, okay, this is almost a book. So I kind of put it on the back burner because it was really busy with my treatments and other things, and just kind of picked at it between clients. I talk with a client and say, oh yeah, I should add this. So taking notes and recording things on my phone, and then just keep adding and adding and adding. And first thing, I have 10 chapters. So the book is there, and I'm like, okay, what do I do with this now? So I just left it there. Then I slowly started talking to people about it. Like, guess what? I kind of wrote a book. They're like, what? And, talking to clients, talking to friends, family. My husband didn't even know I was doing this. So, so then they're like, you have to publish it. You have. So I sent the manuscript to a couple of people in different age groups, right? Different women some that are retired, some that are working, some that are post-menopause, pre-menopause in it, see how it resonated with them. And they're like, you have to do it. So then, okay, so one of my cousins, anyway, her husband has been doing some writing. So I knew he had written a couple of books. So I asked her, I said, well, who would I contact? Where would I start? So I got contacts of, met with a local author. And he kind of showed me the ropes and what to do and where to call and what do you need? And, I need an editor. Oh, okay. I need a format guy to, make sure all the words are in the right place. And, okay. So, and I thought, that's going to be done in 2 weeks. Oh, no. The back and forth of, okay, no, don't like this. Send it back. So like I started the editing and I think end of March, early April. So I'm like, I'm going to have this in 3 weeks because, that's how I roll. But no. So here we are mid-July and I still don't have it, but it's coming. I'm very fussy because I'm artistic. So I designed the cover and, I want the chapters and the pictures and everything to be just so. So I kept sending it back when I didn't feel that it didn't click when I read it, right?
Right.
Feel for it. So I'm expecting the final proof any day. So if all is good, then it should be out and in production and all of that. So yeah.
Wow.
We have a big waiting list of people waiting for it.
Yes, including me, hand raised. Right. Wow. Congratulations. So you really bootstrapped this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you kind of learned on the go.
Yeah.
As you were
I've always kind of wanted to do that. This is like the third book this is my third attempt. I have 2 or 3 books that are kind of, some are finished, but not edited. Some are partly finished on my computer, but it didn't feel right. Like I don't know, like I wasn't sure. And they're all kind of like the same genre as like self-help. But then, my career changed a bit. The first one was for like teenage acne, how to, take care of your, kind of for the parent, but also for the teen. But then I'm like, my clientele really shifted and I don't really do teens anymore. So I'm like, well, I don't want to publish that book because that's not who I'm targeting for clients right now. So maybe someday it'll come out. I don't know. And then the second one was, I started writing that during the pandemic, more of a kind of nutrition guide to healthy eating / cookbook. So my cousin, I don't know if you know Sylvie, because she's, Wendy knows her. She's an amazing photographer. So we had talked about joining forces and she would do all the food photography and, we'd work on the recipes together, but we couldn't get together because it was lockdowns and isolations and like, we just couldn't get together to make it work. And then that kind of fell through the cracks and, never know, maybe someday. But so this one, it just poured right out of me. So I guess the timing and the subject
Exactly.
was good.
It's always about timing, right? It's always about
Yes.
the right timing.
You got to feel it, right? Because if it's
Yeah.
forced, it doesn't work. Like
Right.
it is. So it's kind of, I'm very in tune with my body and my mind and touchy-feely sort of person. So like,
Good.
I got to feel things in my gut for it to, then that it's the right energy or the right path or whatever. So
Exactly. Yep.
yeah.
Right. And you're putting out that energy into the world as well. Right. And I mean, just like myself, I mean, yes, I'm the podcast producer for Wendy's show. So there's that bit of it, but I was so drawn to it that I reached out to you. Right. Yeah.
And
yeah.
I think, I don't know if you're in my age group or not, but like our generation, we're not taking this sitting down. Like I've many times asked older women, like my mother's age or even grandmother's age, I have them as client, and how was your menopause? Oh, I don't remember that. They do not want to talk about it. So I'm like, it's not normal that every older woman does not remember this, because I certainly remember it and I will never forget this experience. So there's no way on earth that you forget how your menopause went. So that just shows you how it's such a taboo subject. And our age group, we're very goal-oriented, doers and get things done. So I'm like, no, like, you're not going to tell me just suffer through it, or, oh, well, this is part of aging, suck it up and deal with it. And I'm like, no. There has to be other things. There's certainly, because lifestyle changes for anything really, right? It's the source. And we're in a very busy, stressed out world. Like everything is go, go, go. And you have to take a step back and reassess your health and your habits, because that makes a big impact. Like stress can induce your hot flashes. It can interrupt your sleep. So all these things, all these components have to click and jive together. Not saying that it's going to take away the symptoms, because we all have to go through this, but it makes it much more manageable, because you think you're dying at some point or in your mind.
Yeah. So I'm 54 as well,
Okay.
and I'm post-menopause. And for me, I feel like this post has been the worst. Like what I always heard from not my mom, but my husband's mom, well, from my husband talking about his mom's menopause, was the anger and the bad moods and the up and down. And I was always like, well, that didn't happen to me. So I guess I'm lucky,
Everybody has a different experience.
Yeah. But post-menopause for me has been the worst. I don't take hormone therapy by choice, my personal opinion. And I'm exhausted. I'm the weight. I mean, just name it. Check.
Yeah.
And not only that, but for me, and this is why I feel it's so important to promote your book and get it out into the world, because it's a lot for me. I'm speaking for me, a lot of mental exercise. So I was never somebody who was like in a bikini or, anything. I took care of myself, and that's that. But the change in the body, the change in the energy level, losing your hair, for me, again, talking about myself, losing my hair, I barely have any eyebrows left.
No,
it's like, it's mentally troubling.
Yes.
Like it weighs on you. So,
and the fatigue is real.
And the
exhaustion
fatigue
is real.
Oh my gosh. I'm like, and sometimes I have to make it's so bad that sometimes I have to make a decision not to drive, because I'm so afraid, I'm so tired.
And then the brain fog, so you forget where you're going halfway there. So
yeah. And then, you know what, something that, and I loved how you said we don't talk about it, or past generations, is the family goes through it too.
Yes.
I mean, the brain fog is out of control. And so I have a young daughter, she's a teenager, she's 17, and a husband, and my mom lives with us. And it's sort of scary for my teenage daughter when she'd be like, I just told you that, or I say something like so crazy, because she doesn't understand. And
no,
she
and they look at us like, what is wrong with you?
Exactly. And then my poor husband is like, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm getting to the other side. It's happening. I don't know when we're going to get there.
How long post are you? How long has it been?
I'm so bad because I didn't, like, I know you say to keep track and I
Mhm.
didn't. I'm going to say a year and a half.
Yeah, I'm 2. And
Yeah.
I find that I'm like seeing the other side. I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So hang in there. Hang in there. Mm.
So tell us about the chapters in the book. So there's 10 chapters.
Mhm.
So tell us about what people can expect when they purchase the book. What can they expect?
The first chapter is nutrition, because that is the base, right? What you eat is what will create your energy, is what builds your hormones, builds your body, your skin, your hair, all of it. So if you don't have a healthy diet, or if a lot of women even don't eat enough, particularly protein. So this is what you need to kind of reassess and tweak or fix, or, first thing, because you can do all the things, but if you don't eat enough to get your energy, then that's makes everything much harder. And then we have movement, because exercise is super important to keep your mobility, stretching. Menopausal women really should do weight bearing or resistance training to keep the muscle mass and the bone mass and all of that. And then it just follows with hydration, how to, we all know we have to drink water, but how much, and like things like adding electrolytes and things you can, little habits to make sure you're getting that hydration in. And then sleep, because as we know, most women over 40 have really bad sleep, and as we age, it gets worse. So there's sleep hygiene habits that you can do to help that. The number one thing is to get off your phone or your tablet or any blue light exposure, so that you can balance out your circadian rhythms. Your brain needs to kind of know that it's bedtime, right? You can't be like having your face in a blue screen and turn the light out. Yeah, sometimes you fall asleep. Some people do, but it affects the quality of your sleep. And then things like room temperature and all of these, and then it follows so on. We talk about supplements. We talk about the last chapter is called Prepare to Pause, hence the title of the book. So this is like what you can expect. So the book is kind of geared for like women, let's say 35 plus. I mean, any women can benefit from it, because the nutrition and the movement, that affects any age group. But you will someday be there. And if you're already over that, like in our age group, you still can learn a lot of things, and there's still a lot of things that can help. So for the perimenopause women, what you can expect, these are the list of the symptoms. How does it feel to have a hot flash? Like I really go into details, and it's a bit of my own experience as well. So I kind of talk of what happened to me, what worked for me, what didn't. And then as well as giving kind of scientific facts and, a little bit of joking around. Like it's not a serious book. It's a very light read, but yet full of information. So you can kind of focus on the chapter you need at that time, or, you can take notes, and you may need it in 2 years. You go back and you say, oh yeah, that's right. Now I'm here. So you can kind of, I have a book that I bought, I think I was in my 20s or early 30s, and like I informed myself way back, because this is the clientele that I worked with. So I wanted to know what my clients were going through. So I knew a lot of this stuff, and there's always something to learn. So, because there's different levels of hot flashes, right? I don't know if you got them. 75% of women will have them. I have a couple of my friends that don't at all, never had one. Some have cold flashes instead of hot flashes. So there's a lot of things. There's about 50 different symptoms, everything from brain zaps to body odor to dry eyeballs, like you name it. It's just, and it changes every month, every 6 months. It's like, oh, I don't have this anymore, but oh, now I have that. And like as the hormone decline, right? Because if you're not on any type of estrogen replacement, your natural estrogen will slowly go down until it hits rock bottom. Hence the menopause, right? Which is 1 day after you've been 12 months without a period. And then after that, you stabilize, because your body switches from estradiol to estrone. So it's 2 different quality of estrogen. So instead, when your ovaries actually shut down, your adrenal glands and your fat tissue take over. So that's why we tend to gain belly fat, and it's harder for us to lose it. And, you know, you lose muscle mass as well, but your body's in a different, it recalibrates, your brain changes, everything changes. So you now have to get used to being in a lower estrogen stage. So post-menopause, where we are now, it takes a few years for your body to recalibrate to that. If you were on hormone replacement therapy, then that's a no-brainer because you take estrogen. So you go back to, you know, feeling better. But some people can't, some people don't want to. There's just different things with that, but it can be really good for the women that can take it, but I can't, and choose not to because it's very high risk for me at this point. So we just have to learn to live in this lower estrone, lower quality estrogen, right? So it's kind of like if you're driving a Lexus and then you go to like Corolla, you know, so when you're menstruating and in reproductive years, you have the best quality of estrogen, which is estradiol. When you're pregnant, you have a different type that you only get when you're pregnant. So there's like kind of 4 types of estrogen in a woman's body. So you go through these different life cycles where you have different levels. So so we're at the point now that we don't have a lot.
Yeah. So I was reading on I think on social, you had said something about, tell us more about the belly fat. I'm not going to get it right. I saw you said something about like the reason you have the belly fat is because you don't have the estrogen, exactly. Or now you're tapping into that fat or something.
So when your ovaries stop working, so either from a natural menopause or for surgically induced menopause, because, you know, you can be 25 and if your ovaries come out, you're instantly in menopause. So once your ovaries do not work anymore, so you have no more eggs, so that estradiol estrogen I was talking about earlier, which is the best kind, you don't. So you switch gears. So your body starts putting on more fat, particularly in the belly area for some reason, but I mean, a little bit, you know, hips and thighs, back of the arms, double chin, like all these areas get more fat because now your fat tissue produces estrogen. And so do your adrenal glands, which are just above your little glands above your kidneys. So this whole belly area becomes the factory for the estrogen because your ovaries are basically done. They're shut down. Factory is turned off. So that's why. So some women get it, some women don't, because yes, you put it on, but also when this happens, your whole metabolism changes. So you require less calories because your body, you know, nature knows, Mother Nature has created it that way. So, okay, we can't make babies anymore. We don't need as much calories. So it's basically just kind of a different stage. So if you don't adjust your nutrition and you keep eating, even if you had a healthy diet, because that happened to me, right? This is what I do. And my diet is like, I don't eat junk food. I don't, you know, I'm very, very healthy. But I couldn't work out as much because I was exhausted. So my workout slowly went down to easier and easier to like basically walking and yoga. So I used to do a lot of weightlifting. I couldn't. I was just, during that last stage, I had so much joint pain and all of this. But then I kind of forgot to kind of tweak my food at the same time. So I was eating roughly the same amount of calories that I had always done, but I wasn't moving as much. And then the pandemic hit, and then we all, you know, baked bread and ate whatever. So I gained probably 15 to 18 pounds, and it is really hard to take off now because that once you're postmenopausal, right? And like, it was all coming on my belly, and I was like, clothes are fit, like I'm still the same size, but it's fitting differently. Your back gets wider, your boobs get bigger, and it's like, but I still weigh the same. So I'm morphing into this really different shape. So you need to reduce the calories because weight loss is a no-brainer. Like it's calories in, calories out. So there's all these fancy diets, you know, keto, and none of that stuff really works long-term. It's going to work. The reason it works when you get on something like that, it's because you're reducing calories. If you're taking out a whole food group, if you're not eating any carbs, then of course you're not getting as much, you know, calories, and or whether you're fasting or whatever. So, but once you get off of that, you haven't learned how to do it because you're relying on a diet, right? Somebody gives you a meal plan and you follow that, but as soon as you don't follow it anymore, you gain it all back. So you need to learn how many calories roughly that you need to feel good. Because if you're too low, you're going to be, tired, cold, feeling blah. But if you need to hit that sweet spot of just enough to give you energy, fuel your exercise, but that you're in a calorie deficit. So it's like a bank account. So if you eat more than you burn, then you're going to gain, and vice versa. So all in all, as we age, we need less calories, but we need more protein and more fiber, which is the two macronutrients that still having carbs, but watching that. So trying to kind of balance things out so that you're either, if you want to maintain your weight or if you want to lose or gain, depending what your goal is. Overall, middle-aged men and women, our metabolism kind of go, so we need to adjust. And if you don't adjust, that's why you slowly over time, probably weighed, 120 when you got married, but then at a certain age, you're like 80 pounds heavier because it's that slow incline. So just to kind of keep that in mind. So I do talk about that in that nutrition chapter, why diets don't work, and, a little formula to roughly calculate how many calories you need. You don't have to be like super, because that can lead to eating disorders and things like that, right? Like if you're too calculating everything and tracking everything, it's good to track a bit, but you don't want to make yourself, creating problems with that. So I use hand portions a lot. Like I'll give examples of, I think there's like 2 days of not meal plan, but 2 days of sample of what it should look like. Because the portions are ridiculously big now, especially in North America. Like we just eat too much, right? For the amount that we move. Yeah. So what's a portion for a typical woman? Like how much meat should you eat? How much potatoes, do you need 2? Do you need half a cup? Like what? So I give a couple of examples. And so it gives you an idea of, oh yeah, I really am eating way too much or perhaps not enough, because I know a few people that work out a lot, but they don't eat. Like they'll have like, a coffee and maybe a piece of fruit in the morning. They go to the gym for like 2 hours and then they skip lunch. And so that's not good either, because women need to eat in a 30 to 45 minute window after a workout so that your muscles can recover and rebuild themselves. Otherwise, you're losing muscle instead of building it, right? So it's all little things like that people that work out or train usually know, but the average person doesn't know all this stuff, right? So I just cover it lightly. I don't go too in depth, but just the kind of guidelines, right? So each chapter finishes with bullet points. These are my tips. These are my suggestions. Tack, 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 tack. Do this, do that. So it's very easy for a person that has even no background into nutrition or exercise or, basic things you can start doing at home. And then if you want to go deeper into that, well, you can. There's lots of books and podcasts and stuff out there, but it's a good starting guide. And even if you are athletic or, have always done these things, sometimes it's a nice little reminder to, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot I used to do that, or I can do that, or add this, add that.
Right.
So yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned about eating after your workout, because this morning my daughter asked me that exact question. She said, I know I'm supposed to eat after I work out. Do I have to do that before I take my shower? How soon do I need to eat? And I said, oh no, it's fine. An hour, 2 hours, you'll be fine. So now I'll have to update her.
Yeah. I mean, things can happen if you're running late or whatever, but ideally, because then you can get too hungry, right? And you start not, like for me, if I would wait 2 hours, I'd be shaking. Like I can't, like this morning I did a lot of heavy, my trainer upped my weight a bit. So we did some heavier rows and hip thrust. And, so I got home and I wasn't hungry on my way home. And I'm like, do I take my shower first or do I eat first? So driving home, right? About 10, 15 minutes. But by the time I got home and got my stuff, I'm starting to shake. Like I need to eat now before anything else. So it's like, you need to be in tune with your body's cues, because sometimes you don't. And I mean, everybody's different too.
Well, I'm so glad that, people are talking about this and educating us. And I'm so glad that you wrote your book. And because I do think it needs to be, out there. There's so many things now. Menopause is, they're even talking about different types of, air quotes, sick time from corporations. because I did leave my corporate job to continue with my own business, but I know being in corporate, standing in an important meeting, being in an important meeting, and all of a sudden just being drenched.
It's the worst feeling I see.
The worst, the worst, and so anyways, all to say that it's so good that we're talking about this and that preparing, and even like, I don't feel like, oh, I missed the boat. I'm so glad.
Oh no, there's always things to learn.
Yeah. And learning and doing things differently. So always things to learn. So thank you so much for creating your book and being here with us today. And as I ask all my guests, please tell us one action step so we can do it today and think of you, and we're going to order our book. And I'll put all the links in and all that.
I would say probably what most people lack is good sleep. So try to go to bed half an hour earlier, or even an hour if you can, and turn off your devices. They suggest 1 to 2 hours before bedtime. So try to slowly increase the amount of sleep. That makes a huge, huge difference in your energy level, and also how your body heals and reduces inflammation. So, sometimes we plan on going to bed. Some people will be in their beds at 9 p.m., but they're on their phone till midnight. So that doesn't count. You're not sleeping. You're resting, but you're not sleeping. So that would probably be one of the first things. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. I'm so excited. Thank you for the work you're doing. It's so helpful to, so many people. And like I said earlier, I also want to put that little plug in, my own sort of personal opinion, because we're affecting our families as well, right?
We are. Yes.
And just being honest and having the conversations at home. So the more education we can get and learn, we can share with our families. So I think
especially husbands too, right? Because some of them know what's going on, but some have no clue, and some are not too understanding. So you need to have those talks, because on so many levels, our energy levels and intimate relationships, everything will change. So they need to know what's going on, and to have that open discussion that, okay, my body has changed so much, and this is how it is, and you need to understand my brain. I can't remember things, and so so they think we're going crazy, and I think at least if they know what's going on, it can help both parties to have a smoother time.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.